You see, let me share some few thoughts with you this morning. Um, now, I think yesterday night, now me reflected on the death of my father. That is 2 months ago. Now, when I came to Kumasi visit him and see how he was doing. No, the first step when he felt that something was not right in his system was to, of course, go to the hospital for diagnosis. And when he went to the hospital, the doctor asked him to go for a scan. And for 2 weeks to 1 month, he had to run series of scans. And so if I look at the subsequent scans together, which of course I have all the documents with me and the receipts, it's more than 15,000 Ghana cedi that was spent within 2 weeks. Now, as a speaker and as a self-development advocate, when I reflect on this, process that he went through, why did we spend so much to understand the problem that he was facing? Now, the issue is, he had a problem going on in his system and he needed to fix the problem. But the first step in fixing the problem was to spend huge amount of money to understand the problem. So you see, this is where I want to make this very important point that the first step to solving every problem is to understand the problem. So I say that the intensity of the problem or the magnitude of the problem will determine the costs required to understand the problem. And this is where I think most of us miss it when it comes to some of us living in this part of the country. We normally take the easiest approach, which is to talk about the problem, to talk about the impact of the problem, to talk about the effect of the problem. And this is a psychological approach to numb ourselves from taking the steps required to solve the problem. Because the costs of solving a problem, it can be very overwhelming. And that is why I always say that in our part of the world, we have problems. We are faced with daily challenges. But the first step to solving the problem is to understand the root of the problem. And to understand the root of the problem requires gathering information. And that can be at a cost. It could be in terms of effort, time, and then money. And so I think the reason why most of us are not able to deal with some of the problems that we go through in this country or some of the challenges we go through is a lack of commitment to go to the roots of the problem. And this is why I'm saying that this requires time, this requires effort, this requires resources. So I don't know, now most of us are the basic problem that we have here in Africa or in Ghana here is economic. And this is where I keep saying that when you take the economic challenge that we have the national problem, and then we also have the individual problem. But of course, they are intertwined. When the national economic outlook doesn't look good, we can feel the ripple effect at the individual level. And this is where most of us always keep bashing the government to do the right thing. And of course, that's key, because the government has to be put on their toes to make sure they put in the proper policy framework that can facilitate individual growth. That is key, But again, there is also another side to the coin. Whilst we put pressure on the government to ensure that proper policy frameworks are put in place, there is also other side of us. We at the personal level also have to be very strategic in our lives, because again, regardless of what happens at the national level, if we fail to develop the right structures at the personal level, it will become very difficult for us to live the life that we are supposed to live, or for us to live meaningfully and build our dreams. So it's a two-way approach. Now, the issue is you have control over one of the challenges, which is a personal level. You don't have so much control at the national level. But the good thing is that once you're able to put in the proper infrastructure for your personal growth, again, I keep maintaining that there is the possibility for you to overcome the national challenge, because history is littered with examples of individuals who have risen beyond societal challenges and they have made their marks in the annals of history. I think this approach is replicable. We can do the same thing, and that's why some of us, when you're on TikTok, try to encourage us to make sure, in as much as we engage in national discourse to put the leadership on their thoughts, we must not lose sight at the personal level, because you must also have your personal infrastructure, personal strategy. You must have your personal roadmap for growth and your personal development. I think this is key. Once we blend the two, I think we will be able to get somewhere.